All right, let's talk about something that's a huge challenge for a lot of tech leaders, data. Specifically, how to use it to lead an engineering team without, making a total mess of things. We're going to walk through a framework from David Filbay, a CTO out of Dallas, Texas. This all comes from a walkthrough he did of a tool called GitLights, and he shared some amazing commentary on how to get the most out of data while dodging all the common traps. We've boiled it all down for you.
This is the big question, right? For the rest of the business, engineering can often feel like this giant black box. There's a ton of important, complex work happening in there, but trying to see it, to really understand the scale of it, well, it's tough.
So what we're unpacking here is David's guide for taking that invisible work and making it visible. And the key idea is to use data not as a weapon to judge people, but as a flashlight to bring clarity and to spark the right kinds of conversations.
Okay, so the tool at the heart of his process is called GitLights. It just plugs right into GitHub and starts pulling data to give you these high-level metrics on what your team is actually doing. Think of it less as a surveillance camera and more like a window into that black box, giving you a dashboard view of all the activity inside.
But here is where David throws up a huge, and I mean huge, red flag right from the start. A tool is just a tool. Before you even look at a single number, he says you have to understand exactly where it comes from, because some of these metrics can be incredibly misleading if you don't have the full context.
And this right here? This is the biggest risk. You show a raw number to a non-technical exec who doesn't understand the nuance behind it, and you can accidentally create a completely warped perception of what's going on. And that's how bad decisions get made, based on signals that are just plain wrong.
Okay, so now that we've got that big warning out of the way, let's talk about how to actually use these tools the right way. David argues that the number one most powerful use case is just communicating the sheer scale and complexity of the team's work to everyone else. So, take commits, for example. These are basically individual changes or saves to the code. In just the last month, his team made almost 2,000 of them.
Then you've got pull requests. These are bigger, more significant chunks of work that are submitted for review by the rest of the team. They handled 84 of those.
And get this, all of that activity was spread across 69 different code bases or repositories. When you put all these numbers together, you start to see a really powerful picture of just how much is going on.
And this is where it all clicks, right? It's not about saying one person is better than another. It's about giving your non-technical colleagues a concrete, tangible way to understand the massive volume of work that engineering is handling every single day. It's about providing context and scale. So, okay, that's great for showing scale. But what else can you do? Well, you can use this data to answer some pretty big, strategic questions that always come up in business conversations.
I mean, this is the million-dollar question from leadership, isn't it? Are we building shiny new things? Are we just fixing bugs? Are we drowning in maintenance? Usually the answer is based on gut feelings, but data can give you a much, much clearer picture.
And boom, here's the answer visualized. This is what GitLights calls the investment balance chart. It breaks down exactly where the team's effort is going. At a glance, you can see the percentage of time spent on new features, upgrades, bug fixes, or paying down tech debt. This is so powerful because it turns a subjective debate into a data-driven discussion. As David points out, it's also great for accountability. You can say, this quarter, we're going to focus on refactoring, and then you can actually use this chart to see if you really did it. The data keeps everyone honest. All right, let's get into the spicy part. The part where so many leaders get this stuff wrong, trying to measure individual developer productivity. This is a minefield, and it can be super damaging if you're not careful.
So David gives this perfect example from his own team. If you just look at the raw numbers, his main DevOps engineer looks like a rock star, just topping the charts on commits. But when you dig in, almost all of that is automated work from a tool called Terraform. It's high volume, for sure, but it's not the same as someone writing complex logic from scratch.
Now, on the flip side, you've got a team lead who might be way lower on that same commit chart, but their value isn't in raw code output. It's in their collective contribution. They're the ones doing code reviews, mentoring junior devs, and unblocking people. They are a force multiplier, and that's a totally different and crucial kind of contribution.
So, what's the bottom line here? It's simple. Raw output numbers, they're basically useless for judging individuals. It completely misses the point of their role, their collaborations, and the actual complexity of their work.
With these metrics, context is absolutely everything.
So if you can't use it to rank people, what's the actual philosophy? How should a leader really think about this stuff? Well, the idea is to use this data not as a report card, but as a leader's second lens.
Here are the core principles David really lives by. Number 1, data should start a conversation, not end one. It's a reason to ask why, not to jump to a conclusion. Number 2, you got to dig in and find the why behind every number. 3, and this is a huge one, you compare trends over time for the whole team. You don't pit people against each other. And finally, you use it as a second lens to add context to what you're seeing in your project management tools, or even just what you're hearing in one-on-ones.
And that really leaves us with one final big question for you to think about in your own work. When you're looking at your team's data, is it creating genuine clarity and helping you start meaningful conversations? Or is it maybe accidentally just creating confusion and driving the wrong kinds of behaviors? Because the answer to that question makes all the difference.